All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
You know, even a gray morning like this is beautiful when we're making an announcement like we are today. So thank you, everybody, for coming out today for this important announcement that our Deputy Administrator from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is going to make, Janet McCabe. Thank you so much for coming up from Washington today to be with us. And it's just, I know that the folks behind me are going to talk about the details, but making the investments in clean school buses creates so many wins. You know, I was looking at maps that we have at EPA that shows where there are cumulative impacts of air pollution, and we're standing in one of those spots. So as we convert these old diesel school buses to clean buses, it's a win for students, it's a win for the innovation economy, it's a win for families who don't have to worry when their kids are standing on the corner waiting for buses. And that's what we're here about today. We're about the kids, and it's so fantastic then to be here, to be part of this announcement. There are a lot of thank yous that need to go around today, and let me just name a few before we get into the speaking. First, of course, to the head of school, Will Thomas. Whoop, where are you? Thank you, Will, for hosting us today. Really appreciate being here in front of this wonderful school. I want to thank, of course, Mayor Michelle Wu. Thank you for your leadership. And I think one of the themes here today is going to be about partnerships and teams, right? We have state folks here, federal folks, city folks, different departments within the city, the school system, et cetera. And each of those have teams. And I know, Mayor Wu, you have pulled together a transformative group of amazing folks to do the kind of transformation that you're hoping to do for the city of Boston and have already done. So thank you for your team. I've met already today Allison, Danielle, Lindsay, Sabine, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple of others, but thank you so much for your work. Of course, Allison, your team has been fantastic partners in so much of the work that we have done. Let me also thank our state rep, Rob Consalvo, I believe is here. Thank you so much. And of course, they're not here, but a huge thanks goes to our congressional delegation who have been at the forefront of passing the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is the funding that allows us to do these electric school bus program. So Senator Markey has been a huge leader in this, and of course, the Congresswoman who were in her district, Diana Presley, has been such a champion of this. So thanks. Let's thank them in absentia. And of course, the state, Commissioner Marty Suberg is here. Marty is someone I've worked with a lot in the past, and it's phenomenal, the team that you bring together as well to work on all of these issues. And I also just want to thank the EPA staff who's here. Doug Gutrow is here, Michaela Rump, and John Rogan is here, who is the lead in our school bus. He's probably spoken with many of you. So thank you for the incredibly hard work you do. So let me first introduce, as I have mentioned, the EPA's Deputy Administrator, Janet McCabe. Again, very grateful that she's traveled up from Boston. By the way, it's not raining right now. I just want to be really clear about that. She is the point person for Administrator Michael Regan in driving all of the programs that you're seeing coming out of Washington and coming out of the region. She has a huge amount of experience in clean air. She was a lead in the Office of Air and Radiation during the Obama administration, and it's phenomenal to have you up here to announce today's announcement. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, David, and thanks to everybody who's here today. It is really great for me to be here. I spent 17 of the happiest years of my life living in Boston, not very far from here, working on environmental issues, and have some family members who are still here. So Boston is absolutely one of my favorite cities in the entire universe. And Mayor Wu, congratulations to you, and thank you for your leadership. The Green New Deal for the school system is just tremendous. It's just setting an example of how you can bring everybody around government together to work on these issues. And everybody brings their expertise, right? Some people bring their expertise about transportation. Some people bring their expertise about building efficiency. Some people bring their expertise about landscaping and how we create green spaces that are going to contribute to keeping our communities healthier. And you can get people really excited about these things because there's so many wins. Thank you, Principal Thomas, for having us here, and for your wonderful school here, and seeing the kids tromp up the steps. This is all about them, but it's also about everybody who lives around here, right? It's not just the kiddos that benefit. It's everybody who lives in this neighborhood, and it's great to see Marty Suberg again, and doing great work here. Protecting children's health and the environment is absolutely a team effort. All levels of government, as well as the rest of us, the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and all of us who live and vote and volunteer, and advocate for a cleaner and better world. Improving the lives and the health of children is absolutely essential to the mission of US EPA, and just about everything we do at EPA is in furtherance of improving the health of the children of our nation. I say this to the EPA staff. If you are an accountant that processes the paychecks, if you are somebody who works on grants or contracts, if you're somebody who writes rules, if you're an inspector, whatever it is you do, you are contributing to the mission of protecting human health and the environment, and that means everybody in this country, no matter the color of their skin, how much money they have in the pocket, the zip code where they live, how much school they have had the privilege to have. And so that is what we are about. More than 25 million kids ride a yellow school bus. Maybe it's not yellow everywhere, but mostly they're yellow, to school every day across this country. It's really the quintessential symbol of the American school system and of childhood for many of our children and many of us. How many of you rode a yellow school bus to school? Yep, right. So it really defines our country in many ways. But it's time to reimagine what that school bus looks, sounds, and most importantly smells like, right? We probably still have in our psyches that odor when you climb onto that stinky old bus, right? Well, that's not the way these buses are anymore. They are super cool. They're quiet. They have this nice little chiming sound that they make, and they don't smell. And if you stand behind the tailpipe, guess what? There isn't one. What could be better than that? The bipartisan infrastructure law that the Congress passed, people from both sides of the aisle voting for it, that President Biden signed, has made just an incredible opportunity. Marty and I were saying more than once in a generation, once in 2 generations, not since the Eisenhower administration has the country invested this much in infrastructure. And so I get the fun job of saying that later today, Administrator Michael Regan of the EPA is going to join Vice President Harris in Falls Church, Virginia, at a school like this one, to announce $500 million in available rebate funds right now to accelerate the transition to electric school buses. This is, yeah. So save some of your clapping for this next sentence. That is 10% of the amount that the infrastructure law allows for electric school buses over the next 5 years. $5 billion. So these rebates are going to help schools all over the country, and not everywhere is as far along on this journey as the city of Boston is. But efforts are being, I live in Indiana, and there are people working on it there. There are people working on it in North Dakota. There are people working on it in Utah. And this money is just going to make it so much easier for people to make that transformation, and importantly, to make the transformation all the way to electric school buses, which still cost about 3 times as much as a regular diesel replacement bus. One of the great things about this program is that this is going to fire up the market so that those costs will come down, which is another great thing. Next year, as I understand it, the Boston Public Schools plan to deploy 20 electric buses into service, with the goal of an entire electric fleet by 2030. That's less than 10 years away. That is pretty incredible. So you are definitely a trendsetter, Mayor. definitely a trendsetter. We want to focus on big cities like Boston. We want to focus on suburban areas. We want to focus on rural areas. Every kid deserves a bus without a tailpipe, and this is our chance to do it. Zero-emission school buses, I'm convinced, can and will be the American standard, just like they're going to be in Boston by 2030. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing here in Boston to make that future a reality. There are a few things you can do in a city that make as much of a direct, immediate impact. It's not just greenhouse gases that are fueling climate change. By the way, I heard it's going to be nearly 100 here this weekend. It is also immediate impacts in terms of reduced particulate matter, pollution that causes asthma attacks, cancer, and affects our kids and all of us immediately every day. So thank you again so much for being here, but even more for doing this incredible work. So I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Deputy Administrator. Before I introduce our next speaker, I realized as I went down the row for thank yous, I forgot Del Stanislaus, and the Transportation Department part of BPS has been at the forefront of this, and we'll get to your introduction later, but thank you so much, and thanks for your teamwork and the teams that you brought here. Our next speaker is our Mayor Michelle Wu, who I think all of you know has been tireless at transforming what municipal government can achieve, and doing so in a way that brings people benefits in remarkable ways. And I was lucky enough many years ago to go on a clean energy trip with her to Europe to see how some of these countries have approached these kinds of issues of transportation and clean energy and the clean energy innovation economy. And just remarkable. I think one of the key aspects of a great leader is one who's open and curious to learn, and certainly that's something that you've done. You've seen where things have worked in other parts of the world, in other parts of the country, and in other neighborhoods in Boston, and tried to figure out how do we bring the best to the communities that are here. So thank you so much, Mayor Wu. It's a pleasure to have you here as one of our partners, as so many folks have talked about the importance of partnership. Mayor Wu.
Good morning, everyone. I am really excited to be back here at New Mission, standing alongside our superstar school leader and his team, to be here with our incredible city teams and know just the scale of all that is happening in Boston, and then to have our state and federal partners here to show just how much we're moving forward together is pretty amazing. New Mission High School, which is right behind us, shares a neighborhood with one of the 3 bus yards in Boston, the Reedville bus yard. Collectively, these 3 yards send out 700 buses a day throughout our neighborhoods, on our roads, carrying our most precious cargo. Half of these buses are still diesel. And we heard from Janet just what that means for the health consequences, for the climate consequences. I'll share one of my earliest memories, and maybe this is more of an illustration of how not cool and nerdy I was when I was little, still am. One of my earliest memories was how shy I was starting kindergarten. I had to take the bus to school every day, but I was afraid to talk to other people and other children, and so I decided that what I would do on the bus ride every day is I would practice counting, and every day I would see how high I could count until. And that was when I learned that I could count up until the thousands. And now it's just something strange that has popped into my head, you know, standing here with all of you thinking about buses and the kids and how they feel when they get on these buses. But all those seconds really add up. They add up to hours and weeks of our lives that really are shaping the rest of their health, their ability to learn, their readiness. And so I'm so excited that we're going to make sure that those seconds really count. Not just when you walk into our school buildings, but from the moment that you set foot onto the buses to get there, that you will be, our young people will be wrapped around with the care, the investment, the innovation that they deserve. We're here with friends from the state and federal level to affirm that all our communities deserve clean air, and we need a collaborative approach to get that done as soon as possible to build a just and green economy. That's why I'm so excited about the bipartisan infrastructure law, the $5 billion that is available, and now immediately with a portion that will allow the City of Boston, in partnership with the state, to apply for even more of our school bus fleet to be immediately electric. Recently, we announced our commitment to our first 20 all-electric school buses in Boston, and I'm happy to report that those have been officially ordered and they're on the way. So we expect to deploy those for next school year. Of course, there's a lot more than just the buses themselves. The bus yards have to be outfitted with the charging infrastructure, and we're working with the utilities to make sure that that can happen. Those upgrades occur quickly. And I want to just make the connection also that we're not just investing in our school buses, but in our school facilities and our school communities as well. Last week, we launched our Green New Deal for Boston Public Schools, an initial $2 billion investment that will certainly grow over time as more schools are moved into the pipeline of needs assessment, design, and construction. This will touch every school community and deliver the facilities our students deserve. The reality is that you see the smiling faces of our young people as they walk up these stairs, but many of them are stepping off from diesel buses and into buildings that were built a long time ago. Many of our 120 plus school buildings lack modern HVAC systems, don't have the bathrooms and water fountains quite all the way installed that our students deserve, much less the science labs, performing arts spaces, and world-class inspiring educational environments that we are determined to provide to them. And so today we're taking an all-hands-on-deck approach. We can't ask another generation of students to wait and to endure what falls far short of their potential. And so we're committed to improving every BPS facility as quickly as possible, as effectively and efficiently as we can. And we're making these investments in our buildings, in our students, in our communities. And we will partner with the EPA and DEP to do even more on other fronts as well. Okay, I want to make sure that our Spanish-speaking communities get a direct announcement as well. Gracias a todos, estoy contenta de estar aquí con representantes del Departamento Estatal de Medio Ambiente y la Agencia Federal de Protección Ambiental para el anuncio de hoy. La New Mission High School, detrás de nosotros, está cerca del término de autobuses de Reedville. Es uno de los 3 terminales de autobuses de BPS que envía más de 700 autobuses por toda la ciudad cada día. La mitad de esos autobuses funcionan con diésel, expulsando gases por todo el Hyde Park y exponiendo a estudiantes y conductores a la contaminación. Me complace estar aquí con nuestros amigos de los niveles estatal y federal para afirmar que todas nuestras comunidades merecen un aire limpio y necesitamos un enfoque de colaboración para reducir las emisiones y crear una economía justa y ecológica. Aquí en Boston hemos anunciado nuestro compromiso de poner a prueba 20 autobuses escolares eléctricos durante el siguiente año escolar. Nos hemos comprometido a electrificar completamente nuestros autobuses escolares para 2030. Me alegra comunicarles que esos autobuses están en camino, ya sea hecho el pedido. Estamos trabajando con la compañía de utilidades también para mejorar la infraestructura de nuestros terminales de autobuses para poder albergar estos autobuses eléctricos. No solo estamos invirtiendo en nuestros autobuses escolares, sino también en nuestras instalaciones escolares. La semana pasada lanzamos el Green New Deal para las escuelas públicas de Boston. Esa inversión de $2,000 millones afectará a cada escuela pública, cada comunidad en Boston. El estado actual de muchas instalaciones compromete la salud de nuestros estudiantes, educadores y comunidades. Muchos de nuestros estudiantes se bajan de autobuses que lo exponen a humo de diésel para entrar a edificios escolares que no tienen sistemas de calefacción y aire acondicionado modernos de agua potable. Estamos tomando acción porque no podemos pedir a otra generación de estudiantes que soporten las instalaciones escolares actuales. Estamos haciendo estas inversiones en nuestras instalaciones escolares, en nuestros autobuses escolares y en nuestras comunidades escolares. Estoy deseando trabajar con la EPA y DEP para determinar cómo podemos trabajar todos para alcanzar los objetivos de resiliencia climática en Boston. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wu. Again, just evidence of the transformative leadership that you're bringing to this city. Next, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Marty Suberg from Mass DEP. He and I go back a long way. In fact, a team from DEP, when I was at Energy and Environmental Affairs in 2009, won an EPA diesel bus award. And that was well before electric buses were even a glimmer in the eyes of any companies. We were doing particulate filters in the buses and got some funding to do that. And Marty, you've always been a leader in this space and have continued in your role as commissioner. And so it's a pleasure to have you here as part of this partnership and team.
Thank you, David. And I just want to take a few minutes very briefly to first of all say thank you. It's wonderful to be here with Representative Consalvo, Mr. Hill, at your wonderful facility. Deputy Administrator McCabe, thank you for your ongoing leadership and this wonderful announcement today. Mayor Wu, thank you so much for your leadership and these exciting initiatives. Director Stanislaus, the amazing work you're doing, and of course my colleague and longtime environmental leader, Director Cash, or Administrator Cash. I'm here on behalf of the Baker-Polito administration really to just say thank you and congratulations to EPA for this wonderful announcement and to the city of Boston for taking advantage of this and other opportunities and plotting a course for the future, a cleaner future. Our previous speakers have already used the words that I would have used, so I'll be brief. One of the words is, David described it as win-win-win. Sometimes people like us in government talk about things called co-benefits, which sounds a lot less interesting. But what it really means is think about the benefits an announcement like this brings. The improvement of air quality in communities that are overburdened. A key focus that we need to work on and pay attention to. And the benefits that non-emitting vehicles bring to our collective goals of addressing climate change and bringing down greenhouse gas emissions. We get both of those with this type of announcement and this type of action. Another word is partnership. The partnership between federal, state, local, legislative, executive branch, nonprofit and advocacy communities, environmental justice communities, an ongoing discussion and engagement to make sure that our solutions are tailored to addressing problems and that we are putting our best resources forward. And then finally, the word exciting. This grand announcement is exciting. This is really going to help Boston make its transformational changes and other communities make its transformational changes. And so on behalf of DEP and the Baker-Polito administration and our programs, I think we have about 6 programs in our agency that encourage electrification, whether it's infrastructure, working with our federal colleagues in the diesel emission reduction program to bring clean buses, including electric buses, to communities like Boston, to other programs that will make electric vehicles accessible and easy to use wherever they are applied. We commit to continue to working with all of you, but above all, again, congratulations on this wonderful announcement, and we look forward to working with you in the days and months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, I'd like to call up Head of School, William Thomas. I have a personal connection with education. I was telling him this morning that I had been a science teacher many years ago, and so the work that you do is just so tremendously important. So tremendously important for the future. We were talking about a STEM program here in engineering, and I'm just imagining those smiling kids walking up the steps after they graduate smiling. They're going to be the next innovators. They're going to be the ones that replace whatever our school buses are now that we're getting through this funding. In 30 years, the next generation, it's going to be the students here in your program. So thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you for hosting us today, and I look forward to the day that we could meet here and watch the electric school buses pull up to drop off the smiling kids. Head of School?
Thank you, David. I think pretty much everything has been said, so I just want to again welcome everyone to the Hyde Park complex, education complex, the home of New Mission and BCLA. I also want to thank Mayor Wu and David and Janet for keeping up with your promise of the city being more greener. So this announcement This announcement of applying for electric bus rebate is another big step towards making our school bus fleet emission-free. And so with over 700 school buses in BPS, making them all electrical will have a major impact on our air quality. And so this is great news for our city and our students. Since we are in the business of preparing kids for the future, I know that this will be this would definitely open up a lot of careers for our students. As David said, we do have an engineering program that we just started with the which we made an announcement last week or a couple of weeks ago. This is the second time that we had a press release. So we're really excited about the just the opportunities for our students in this career. So thank you, Mayor, again for keeping your promise and continue keeping your promise. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And our last speaker today, I've been wondering how to say this without insulting everybody else, but it's sort of the most important for last. And here's why. We're policymakers. We create policy to put things forward, but it's going to be the Director of Transportation, Stanislaus, that actually makes this happen. That actually makes sure they figure out where the chargers are going to be, how we're going to train new maintenance folks, how we're going to set up the schedule so the buses can come in a phased approach as new buses come in, et cetera. And it's just you're going to be where the rubber meets the road. Sorry to use that pun here, but that's where it's going to happen. And really appreciate the team that's been here. I was just very excited to meet the folks that are going to be working with you. So thank you very much for the effort that you're going to be making here. So please, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Delavern Stanislaus, and I'm the Director of Transportation for Boston Public Schools. I would like to thank the EPA for prioritizing students and school districts throughout the country by subpointing fleet electrification. I would especially like to thank Mayor Wu and her administration for jump-starting fleet electrification in Boston. Every day we have the opportunity to ensure that thousands of Boston students make it to school safely and on time. Thanks to Mayor Wu's support, we are working on launching our pilot program, including purchasing and partnering with Eversource to plan charging infrastructure. This necessary preliminary work leaves us poised to expand our program. The EPA funding announced today is transformational. It will take our pilot and similar pilot efforts throughout the country and make those into sustained programs. These programs will meaningfully improve the health of everyone who rides buses and the health of the communities through which those buses travel. Boston Public Schools Department of Transportation will apply for all available EPA funding to support the purchase of buses and charging infrastructure during the initial rebate phase, as well as any additional grant phases that become available. BPS DOT is already working with our utility to plan the necessary infrastructure to support charging our fleet for years to come. The BPS Transportation Department is committed to continuing to improve on delivering high-quality bus service for students, families, and schools. This opportunity to electrify our fleet is critical to achieving an equitable local Green New Deal. I want to again thank Mayor Wu, the EPA, and my wonderful team in the Transportation Department, who's also leading this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director. And let me close by talking about some of the themes that we've heard today. But I just wanted to reiterate, Deputy Administrator McCabe, you said $5 billion?
I did.
Okay, $5 billion.
With a B.
Okay, I just wanted to make that super clear. $5 billion the Biden-Harris administration is going to put on the streets to help communities like Boston, suburban communities, rural communities all over the country to be the catalyst to change how we do transportation with our children. So that is just such a huge announcement. That is a huge amount of money that's going to transform what we're doing here. So once again, thanks for that. And I just want I want to close. Several of us have talked about wins, and it is through if you take all the wins that have been talked about, whether it's cost savings because of maintenance, whether it's the clean air, whether it's the spur for innovation and job growth in this new clean energy economy. Those are all incredibly important. But there's a win. I was saying this, and Marty and I were at a conference earlier this week, and another transformative mayor, Dan Rivera from Lawrence, former mayor, he kind of said, well, yeah, you guys talked about your 6 wins and your 3 wins, but there's one win. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said. It's the win for that kid who for years has been getting on a stinky, smelly bus. And for that kid to think, who am I and what am I worth that I'm getting on this stinky, smelly bus? And for that kid then to be getting onto a brand new, beautiful bus that has no tailpipe, that doesn't smell, that isn't going to give them asthma, that isn't going to send them to the hospital, that is the win that we're here for today. So thank you very much. That concludes our program. Thank all of you.